All right, today we're diving into a genuine medical mystery. It's a paradox that really makes you question what we know about healing, medicine, and the power of the mind. And it all boils down to one very, very strange question.
I know, it sounds completely impossible, right? A pill with nothing in it, no active ingredient, shouldn't change how it works over the years. But for decades now, that's exactly what the data has been telling us. So to figure out what on earth is going on, we first need to get the ground rules straight.
Before we can even begin to solve this puzzle, we have to get familiar with the main character in our story. So, what exactly is a placebo, and why is it so important for proving that any new medicine actually works? So, think of a placebo as basically a stand-in. It could be a sugar pill, a saline injection, pretty much anything that looks and feels just like the real medicine, but is totally inactive. The reason it can still have an effect is all in our heads. It's about our expectation of getting better and this lifelong conditioning we have that tells us, hey, medicine helps. It's this incredibly complex mind-body connection that science is, still trying to fully map out.
Now, this is the gold standard for proving a new drug is the real deal. It's called a randomized controlled trial. By keeping both the patients and the doctors blind to who's getting what, you get rid of all the bias. See, a new drug doesn't just have to work. It has to work better than a person's own belief that they're getting help. It has to beat the placebo. And for a long time, that was a fair fight. But something's changed.
And this is where our story takes a really strange turn. The very thing we designed to keep science honest is now becoming so powerful that it's actually starting to get in the way of medical progress. Just imagine it. You spend millions, maybe billions of dollars developing a brand new antidepressant. You get it to the clinical trial phase, and it can't significantly outperform a simple sugar pill. And look, this isn't just some hypothetical. It's a huge problem that drug companies are running into more and more. The humble placebo is somehow getting stronger, and honestly, nobody's 100% sure why. So to really get what's happening, we have to stop talking theory and start looking at the cold, hard evidence. What do the numbers actually tell us about this bizarre trend? Let's start with major depression. If you look at big analyses of studies from the 1980s, about 30% of patients got better on a placebo, okay? Now, fast forward to the 2000s. That number jumps to around 40%, and in some studies, it's pushing 50%. I mean, that is a huge leap in effectiveness for something that's literally nothing. The belief in a cure is becoming a more powerful cure itself. Okay, but this next one, this is where it gets truly bizarre. One of the defining features of an illness like schizophrenia is often a lack of insight that you even have an illness. So you'd think the placebo effect would be weaker, right? Wrong. The opposite happened. The response rate more than doubled in about 20 years. How does that happen? And it's not just happening in mental health either. For conditions where we know there's a strong mind-body link, like irritable bowel syndrome, the effect is just as big. A 40% improvement from a sugar pill is, well, it's pretty remarkable. It just goes to show how incredibly powerful that connection between our brain and our body really is. But here's the thing. This is a massive clue. The effect isn't getting stronger across the board. For conditions that are more purely physical, things like high blood pressure or diabetes, the placebo effect has stayed pretty much the same. The change seems to be happening almost exclusively in conditions where our minds, our perceptions, our beliefs play a much bigger role. Okay, so we've seen the evidence. Now it's time to investigate the case. What are the leading theories that could possibly explain this? Let's line up the suspects. So you've got a few of the usual suspects, the standard explanations. Maybe our expectations are just way higher now. We're constantly hearing about medical miracles, so we go into a trial believing that pill's gonna work. Or maybe the trials themselves have just changed. They're often bigger and last longer now, which can water down the difference between the real drug and the placebo. And, we can't ignore better patient care in general or the powerful stories we're told about how a drug can rebalance our brain chemistry. But probably one of the most convincing mainstream theories is something called diagnostic bracket creep. The basic idea is this. As the definitions for conditions like depression have gotten broader, clinical trials have started to include people with much milder symptoms. And those people are way more likely to get better on their own anyway, which makes the placebo group's results look much, much better. It closes that gap between the real drug and the fake one. But what if the answer is something more profound? Now we get into some really out there, fascinating ideas that kind of stretch the boundaries of conventional medicine and force us to think about healing in a totally different way.
So, check out this analogy from history. Historians have noticed that when societies are in chaos and external laws are weak, people's internal belief systems, like religion, tend to get a lot stronger to provide a sense of order. Well, this theory applies that same seesaw logic to medicine. It suggests that for the past few decades, we haven't really had a lot of truly revolutionary, game-changing new drugs, especially for mental health.
So the question is, as the power of our external medicine has kind of hit a plateau, has our own internal pharmacy, the mind's incredible ability to heal through belief, ramped itself up to fill the gap? It's like a balancing act. The body wants to heal, and if the tools on the outside aren't as powerful, maybe the tools on the inside get stronger to compensate. All right, before we wrap this up, let's just have a little fun and explore one last theory. This one definitely sits on the fringes of science, but it is way too interesting to just ignore. The biologist Rupert Sheldrake came up with this idea he calls morphic resonance. You can think of it like a kind of natural internet or a data cloud for consciousness. The theory goes that once an idea gets established, like for example the idea that depression is a treatable chemical imbalance, that information gets uploaded to the collective, and then it becomes easier for other people, anywhere, to tap into that belief and feel its effects, even if the pill they're taking is just made of sugar. It's a wild idea for sure, but it's another lens for looking at the incredible power of a shared story. So after looking at all the evidence, from the hard data to the more unconventional ideas, where does that leave us? What's the verdict on the paradox of the strengthening placebo? The truth is, there's no single simple answer here. The strengthening placebo effect is a real, documented fact, and its cause is probably a complex cocktail of everything we've just talked about. Changes in trial designs, higher expectations, more powerful stories, and maybe even a deeper shift in our own innate ability to heal ourselves. At the end of the day, this whole mystery forces us to grapple with a really profound question. It pushes us past just measuring chemicals and makes us think about the incredible and apparently growing power of belief, of story, and of expectation in our own health. It really leaves you wondering, what is the most potent tool in our pharmacy anyway?